Hey guys, today I wanted to share with you my overall updates on a Bitcoin mining company, Mara. I'll deep dive into providing to you my overall perspective on where we are with the stock price. Is there potential for it to break out? What's my overall price target? As well as sharing with you information on the recent quarterly three results that was announced today. We'll look at some data and see what does this mean for Mara's future, and is there potential for positive profit margins when it comes to investing. So before you consider making an investment, please always make sure to do your research and take my information as guidance. Let's begin, guys. So first off, I would like to share overall price targets. As you can see, the price that we're looking at for Mara is end of market trading was at $25. You can see here that with the aftermarket it trended down by about 9%. What's driving the overall price down? We'll go more into detail, especially with the recent news that was announced. Now, the good news is that as we look at a 1 month chart, it's gone up by about 56%. At one point back in early November, we saw that Mara was hovering at around the mid $15 range. And with this stock price being heavily correlated with the rise in the price of Bitcoin reaching all-time highs, we see this gradual increase up to 25. However, that's not to say that Mara has never reached this price at any point here. I mean, we saw at one point in the beginning of 2024, January, it reached up by about $26 and it hovered up in February at around close to $30. And at one point here, we see a March timeframe opening at like 31, 32 range. And we see in July timeframe, it's achieved this resistance value here that we saw. Now the question is, can Mara hold on to its current value at this time? We know that potentially when the market opens tomorrow, there may be some of the price incorporated here, whether it opens up at 23 lower or higher. That's very difficult to say. But overall, as we continue to see Bitcoin consolidate, that's healthy consolidation. Now, will there be the potential for the next leg up with the price of Bitcoin? That is possible as well, especially with us still being in the era of the bull run for cryptocurrency. So it hasn't ended yet. That's the good news here that we should consider. Now, from a price target standpoint, if Mara is able to break through $28 come this week, then I think that it could start testing the higher range. Once it breaks through the resistance of 28, I can easily see this start ramping up, gaining more traction with more investors placing their bets on companies like Mara, especially it being the top reputable company. Now, what's driving this downward price in the after hours? Now, one news I wanted to share with you is that Mara, they announced their Q3 results, which was less than expected than the Wall Street analysts. The news that came out was that the earnings per share was actually at 42 cents versus the estimate of 35 cents. Additionally, the revenue fell short in the actual revenue accounted for 131 million, falling short of the 144 million consensus. So actuals didn't meet the expected results, and that's what drove the price down. However, on the bright side, when you think about it, we're looking at the performance in hindsight. And we know that with Q3 being unique with the post-halving event taking place, profit margins aren't too significant there. But from a forward movement approach, we can definitely see increases with profit margins, especially for the current quarter Q4. And the good news is that Mara, they expect to reach the 50 exahash goal for this year. And that's really going to be the driving factor for why Mara is the top leading company out there right now. So I wanted to deep dive into the data that that was announced today, right after market closure. Now, here, one of the good news is that Mara added 372 megawatts of mining capacity in Ohio, and they actually energized their hash rate in October to 40.2 exahash, which was a 9% increase from the prior month. One of the greatest factors about Mara is that they have that hold on dear life perspective with Bitcoin. In fact, they're the out of all the Bitcoin miners, they hold on to the most Bitcoin, currently close to about 27,000 Bitcoin, and mining a total of 2,000 Bitcoin this quarter alone. And they actually purchased more Bitcoins, adding it to their balance sheet, having more liquid for any potential ways to build on their company strategy. Now, one of the downsides that we also have to factor in is the average cost to mine Bitcoin. So you don't see Mara's average cost to mine Bitcoin similar to that of like Riot or Core Scientific. You see here the cost is about 42,000 to mine Bitcoin. However, with Bitcoin driving up in its price, that really shadows this whole aspect of expenditure costs on average costs. So that's good news for Mara because their goal is to increase the exahash, be the number one leading company in mining total amount of Bitcoins per day. Another good strategy here from Mara is launching a 25 micro data center across Texas and North Dakota, just building on to increasing the throughput with electricity production as their strategy to own and operate zero cost energy generation. So what's in it for Mara? They increased their hash rate up to 93% year over year to 36.9 exahash from 19.1. Their Bitcoin production down 41% year over year to 2,000 Bitcoin. Although we know that it's just more limited supply with mining at this point. However, they're still number one at overall mining. We talked about the net loss, but the good news is that they grew their cash on their balance sheet and they have the highest Bitcoin holdings at this time, increasing their margins by about 45%, which is good news. And in terms of Bitcoin yield per share, that's increased by about 29%. Now, just looking at the production numbers, we see gradual increase here, right? So back in 2023 Q3, it was at 19.1. Now it's double that. Definitely good news here. And we see an increase in the Bitcoin blocks produced, which is definitely lovely with what we want to see. Now, the downside with what we see is the overall price. Okay, so downside that I can see just looking at their data is that their accounts payable, we still have liability here. You see that their total liabilities went up. However, that's offsetted by their total assets. So we see an increase in total assets, which is good. We don't see like a net difference when you compare current year's data to last year's data, which is what is key here. So there's a net zero difference when it compares the liabilities to last year's numbers. Good news is is that long-term assets has increased substantially, which is what we want to see to offset the risk that we see here. So now the question is, what's going to happen tomorrow's holding? So most of you are wondering, is it time to sell or buy? I personally think that it all comes down to your risk profile, but especially with the price of Bitcoin hovering up to where it currently is, I think that we have the potential to see larger gains. So that's why I would suggest holding on. If there are dips, consider dollar cost averaging down, but I could definitely see Mara breaking through the $30 range in the near term and then start catapulting up to levels that we have not yet seen, especially with us being in this bullish market territory. So that's where we are. I hope that this video was valuable. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and thanks for watching this video. Take care.